Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinelli, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe, and like the video if you're listening to this on YouTube. Comment down below any thoughts you have on anything that I talk about. This episode is not going to be a structured recap on any of the shows that I'm covering, simply because I have a lot I want to talk about, and for the sake of my organization in my brain, I wanted to do like a Big Brother week one, who got nominated, etc., all in one episode. And I do anticipate recording that Thursday night after the live eviction to get out some time over the weekend before the new Big Brother week starts. So that is still my plan, but I really, because of the nature of the first week of Big Brother being a little bit longer, I kind of want to share my thoughts. I'm recording this Tuesday night. I want to share my thoughts on the contestants so far, what we've seen in the first two episodes. So that's kind of going to be, like, I'm going to be debriefing, but I'm not going to be recapping in the way that I will be going forward. This is just kind of a, like, Big Brother's back. What do I think of the contestants so far? What did I think of the first two episodes? Kind of style episode. I'm going to do that at the end, though. I want to very quickly touch on a couple other shows, but that's just a disclaimer. I will be recapping week by week, including live feed updates. I do watch live feeds, and I am, like, keeping up to date with what's going on to the best of my ability. With the lack of flashback or rewind or anything, honestly, it is hard to keep up, but I'm doing my absolute best to keep up with, like, the important alliance stuff. Anyways, so, like, I will be doing that. I just, like, didn't want to wait to do my first Big Brother episode once somebody had got home. Let me just talk about the other shows first, and then I'll get into Big Brother. Timestamps will be in the description if you're interested. Thanks so much for tuning in. So, first, very briefly, I want to talk about the end of Love Island Season 7, because I've been covering that on this podcast. Few things. The baby challenge thing I thought was super boring. There were a few funny moments. Like, I did enjoy, it just dragged on a little bit. I honestly wish it had been something, and I guess maybe this isn't as interesting as, like, these are babies, but I'm like, I wish it had been, like, eggs or something. So then, like, oh, their egg cracked. It's like, it's not like the babies were harmed. Not that they should have harmed the babies. They were fake babies, to be clear. But, like the stakes were so low. They didn't even win anything. I don't know. I think that's my biggest issue with Love Island. I think some of the challenges, regardless of, like, obviously there's no, like, power you get or benefit you get, I do think a lot of the times they reveal stuff with, like, kissing or chemistry, or, like, that one they did where they revealed, like, body count and things like that. Like, those, when you get to know the people or stuff like that, I do enjoy, like, chemistry tests. I do like those, but, like, something like this, it dragged on too long. And speaking of dragging on too long, the finale was a little bit too long for my liking. First, okay, Shelly and Ace went home before the finale, which I'm not surprised. I didn't think that they were in the running, but what's really surprised me is how much people actually really, really liked Pepe and Iris. They were, like, so irrelevant to me with Peace and Love. Pepe, literally the only reason I remembered his name and who vaguely he was because I was in a play in 2019. I was in my college. I was in a student play. Actually, well, it was run by the college. Like, the official drama department put on a play every semester, and I was in that play, and it was The House of Bernard Alba, and my character was engaged to a man named Pepe El Romano. So when Pepe came up on the scene, I was like, that's my husband. Not really, actually. Like, I'm not attracted to him at all. I just mean he has the same name as the character I was engaged to. So that's the only reason I remembered his name. And I like Iris, but she just, like, I don't see anything there. Like, they're not that compelling TV, and maybe it's just because they were bigger personalities. But even, like, Ace and Shelly, like, do I like Ace enough that I'm gonna, like, follow him and keep up to date with what's going on with Ace? No, I don't particularly care for Ace, but I enjoyed watching him. He was entertaining to me. Pepe and Iris, maybe Iris eventually, maybe if Iris posts something funny, I'll like her, because there have been people on shows that I've watched that I didn't like them on their season, or I didn't think anything of them, but their social media presence compelled me to follow them, and I like their content more than I necessarily liked them on TV, because I am somebody who consumes, as much as I consume reality TV, I do also consume like content creation and like influencer stuff. So like I follow influencers just because I like their content. So knowing somebody from a show obviously a lot of the times does get me to follow people. But like I'm just saying, if she's really funny on social media, I will follow her even though I didn't particularly care for her on the show. So like that's where I am with Iris and Pepe. Like I didn't care about watching them, and I also don't care to keep up with what they're doing unless they do something that grabs my attention. But anyways, no hate to them. I was surprised they made it as far as they did. I went on a whole tangent last episode about my thoughts. If you hear any background noise, I'm fostering 4 kittens and they're going kind of crazy. They always do. I say that every episode, but like, don't worry. They're ready to be adopted, so I'll stop saying that soon. That's so depressing. I mean, and then I'll get more kittens. Anyways, I went on a whole tangent last episode. Tangent isn't really the right thing because it was a topic I wanted to talk about, so it wouldn't be a tangent because I was on topic. It wasn't a tangent. Anyway, I vented, if you will, last episode about my thoughts on Nicolandria. And they remain true. I stand by everything I said. But actually, okay, before I get to Nicolandria, let me talk about Huda and Chris, because last I spoke, I really feel like I made a fool of myself because I was like, Huda seems so much calmer when she's with Chris. Like, I feel like this has proved that it's not necessarily like Huda's a toxic person. It was just her and Jeremiah didn't mesh well. And like, while I do still very heavily and very strongly believe that I do not know Huda, and I am not going to make a character judgment based off of who she was in this one chapter of her life in this weird environment. Because I always think about, maybe whatever, people are going to be like, you're a bad person then. But I think about the versions of myself when I was like in the most distress or in the most like unstable versions of myself. And I think about if the world was watching me go through that and the ways that they would judge me and the words that they would place on me. Like, I think about that all the time when I'm watching reality TV because I would not want to be defined by my worst moments. So I don't like to do that with others because while I do not think her behavior is good, I don't like condemning her as a human being because I don't know her beyond who she was in this one facet of her life, this one chapter of her life in a very weird environment that makes even the most stable people like lose themselves. And you know what I mean? So I just like, I don't take back what I said about like, I don't want to like diagnose Huda or like condemn Huda or act like I know who she is to her core in her day-to-day life based off of this. But I do fear that she proved me wrong, that it was like just a Jeremiah thing. I do think maybe it's a Love Island thing. Maybe it's some work she needs to do personally. But Huda, the thing is, okay, it was just upsetting to watch because they clearly started, like, I think he was starting to really not like her. And then they brought their families in. And I think that really did not help because his family were like, we love Huda. And I think if he had gotten, like, I think if his family had said, trust your gut, if you're not feeling it, like, I think if they had given him the green light, he would have dumped Huda sooner. But I think their encouragement, I think he wanted to keep it going, but he didn't actually, like, I think in his head, that kind of changed a game plan he had, where instead of being, like, ready to end things with Huda, he decided he needed to get Huda to end things with him. And so I feel like he withdrew a little bit. And while I don't think when somebody withdraws from you in that way, it's right to then like push in the way that I feel like Huda was trying to do. I also can't be like, she was just like, it's not like he was acting the same way he had been, especially, okay, because there was a weird moment where he's like, you don't want to kiss me in public, but then he starts withholding affection. And like, I don't know. Anyways, like, I'm really torn on the whole Huda and Chris situation because, I mean, I don't want to, the whole thing was upsetting, honestly, to me personally, because she's like, cuddle with me, and then he like isn't responding, and she's like, I'm gonna count down if you don't respond. Like in a way that was like weird. Okay, consent above all, cuddling or otherwise. If he doesn't want to cuddle with you, then like he shouldn't have to. I get that she tried to communicate later that it wasn't like she was like being like, I know that you're awake, but I think honestly if Huda had the ability to self-reflect, she could maybe be like, I knew that you were awake. I wish that you had felt comfortable enough saying no to me. I'm sorry if you felt like you couldn't have said no to me to cuddle with me. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's like the disconnect. And then I don't know, the whole thing upset me. And then he wouldn't carry her, which I guess he didn't have to. The whole thing was just like, I was glad by the time it was over. They each deserve better, and I'm not like they deserve somebody more compatible and such. So glad that's over. Nicolandria, and then I'll end with Amaya and Brian. Nicolandria, as I've said, and I stand firm in my perception of them, that it was not. I really feel like people, and I get it because I've been there. Okay, I've been there. Specifically with like Bachelor live feeds, or not, oh my god, not Bachelor live feeds, with Big Brother live feeds. I've been there, okay? I feel like if Love Island had live feeds, I would maybe like fall into that more. But I think there's just a disconnect for me when I'm watching an edited show that I'm always like, okay, this is an edited show. Whereas with like Big Brother live feeds, I do tend to be like, oh my god, they looked at each other here, and like they, because I feel like I'm like watching a documentary and I'm picking up on changes of behavior, and I'm like, and obviously I very often like still tell myself like I try not to get too parasocial or like analytical, because at the end of the day, these are real people. They're not characters in a TV show that I'm like analyzing like, oh, they glanced here and like, what does this mean? But I do understand that kind of instinct to like ship people on TV. I don't get it in dating shows, and maybe that's just like I learned my lesson. I got burned too many times, and I just don't get attached to. But I'm like, they didn't like each other enough to pursue. He didn't like her enough to pursue things. Even throughout in the show, she's like, you guys should have told me. I didn't see it. If you don't see it. I'm not saying that friends to lovers can't be a thing and like, oh, I didn't see it. You didn't see it because he wasn't showing it to you. He showed no interest until you were his only option or he left. Then you guys, obviously, you have good chemistry. You're attracted to each other. There's nothing there beyond we're attracted to each other and we get along like friendly. Even throughout the whole like finale, they were like hedging their bets. They were like, we've enjoyed our time together, whether it's a friendship or more. Like there was always a like, if it's a friendship or more, like clearly they are not that interested in each other, in my opinion. That is and I stand by it, and I'm glad they didn't win. That's just my opinion. So Amaya and Brian. Now let's be honest. Brian won because he was paired up with Amaya, okay? Like I like Brian. I really like the way he stood up for her, and I like the way that their relationship blossomed into something. But primarily it was because it was Amaya. People wanted Amaya to win. And I get it. I mean, a lot of people wanted Nicolandria to win. But I do feel like of the couples, it would have been really funny if Chris and Huda won, given the fact that they had just broken up. Maybe it's good that that didn't happen. Nicolandria, I thought was going to win. I was happy that Amaya won because I feel like she deserves it more. And I do feel like there's something more genuine between her and Brian. Whether they are going to last forever, I don't really know. I don't get attached to couples from reality TV because I am like, at the end of the day, these are strangers to me, and I wish people the best in whatever journey their lives take. But if there's anything I've learned from like being invested in somebody's relationship via social media, is that at the end of the day, when they break up, I very often learn that there's a lot I didn't know about their relationship. So you know what that's taught me? That there's a lot that I don't know about people's relationships. And at the end of the day, like I can't get attached to somebody's relationship because I'm like, I don't want to be like, no, I want them to work it out. Why? Because I have a weird connection. Like, when I see people that seem like they're a good match and they last a long time, do I wish for people's happiness and success? Obviously. Like, I'd love to watch a couple succeed, okay? I love romance. But I guess it's just this thing where sometimes I feel like in becoming parasocially attached to a relationship, people feel like entitled and like at the end of the day, they are just strangers to you. And like, I would rather somebody be happy regardless of if it's with the person I ship them with or not. So I'm just like, I'm rooting for people's happiness in whatever journey that takes, whether it's they get married, they have children, they're beautiful, perfect, lovely, or they go their separate ways and then they each find somebody better suited for them and they're happy. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like to place a pressure of like, oh no, but they need to, because it's like, they're strangers to me. I don't want them to be together to be together because I ship them on a show. I want them to each individually live their happiest lives. And if that's together, that's beautiful. And if it's not, that's okay too. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. It doesn't mean that what happened, that it wasn't a real relationship and it wasn't an important journey and an important step and whatever. Anyways, I went on that tangent to say that I don't know if Amaya and Brian are going to last a long time, but I do hope that Amaya, in whatever path her journey takes, thrives. She was such a joy to watch. It brought me so much joy, and I loved seeing their families connect. I loved that, and then them becoming exclusive and then winning. I was so happy. I was so happy for the journeys they took. I was very satisfied with the ending. That's who I wanted to win, was Amaya. Honestly, I think I would have been fine with any of the endings because I wasn't particularly, like, I thought Nicolandria, I was like, okay, people are invested in their storyline. Huda and Chris, like, I honestly, I mean, maybe it's retrospect because I'm like, but if I had to vote for the couples, I don't think I would have voted for Huda and Chris. Like, I mean, I could have voted for the couples. I'm saying if I voted, like, if I had to vote them, I don't think that Huda and Chris would have been above Nicolandria. I don't know. Anyways, that's where I stand. I'm really happy about the way it ended. Before I jump into Big Brother, I want to talk very, very briefly about Bachelor in Paradise, which is back. There have been 3 episodes so far. Again, this is not a structured recap. I just want to kind of share my thoughts on the show so far because it's very different. Like, the vibe is completely different. New location, the coloring is completely different, the whole vibe. It's just like a revamped show in a really interesting way, I have to say. I am a creature of habit. I grew up moving a lot, and I really hold on to stability. I love a routine. I love nostalgia. Like, I am somebody who, probably to an unhealthy degree, I'm like, if something's comfortable for me, I'd rather be comfortable than like push myself, even if the discomfort ends up being better in the long run. I mean, I say that, but then like, I'm like, there are moments that I do push myself. Like, I moved to LA alone. So like, not that I'm like completely like a hermit crab in my shell, but I am somebody who's just like, I really like nostalgic things. I will rewatch something a lot more than I love you know what I mean? So it's just like, and I think also Bachelor in Paradise, it's been hard because there was a year off. Like, we didn't have Bachelor in Paradise last summer. So it's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it was a very jarring. I didn't love the first episode solely because the new look threw me off. And also because I've been watching Love Island. I was like, are they trying to be Love Island? I don't like that. And I think the reason that I don't, and I will say 3 episodes in now, I don't feel like they're trying to be Love Island in the same way that I felt before. And I also don't feel like I feel like the tone is a little bit, like, the reason The Bachelor and Love Island to me are so different, or not so different, but the main difference, the most important difference, in my opinion, is that The Bachelor has always been, even Bachelor in Paradise, has been about finding a fiance, finding a husband, like that kind of future. Where, from my understanding, Love Island is like a bunch of sexy singles. And like, yes, people are looking for love, but it's not built into the fabric of the show that you are getting a ring and proposing at the end. Like, the marriage isn't a topic. People have gotten married from Love Island. I'm not saying that like those couples don't. Statistically, maybe they last longer than The Bachelor. I don't know. I'm a newbie to Love Island, but it's just like the tone of the first episode. I was like, I don't want them to try to be Love Island because I watched The Bachelor wanting to root for them to be in love, and I don't. Maybe it's because it was my first season and tonally it was so different than like what I'm used to. But when I was watching Love Island, I wasn't like, these people are gonna last forever. Like, that was never a thought in my mind. And I think in The Bachelor, even if I always go into it with some kind of wall up or like reservation of like, they're probably not gonna last, there is a more like serious, like, they're engaged, this is my fiance kind of tone that I get invested in the couples from the Bachelor franchise more than I feel like I was in Love Island. And maybe this Love Island season just didn't have any couples that were that compelling. It feels like the most compelling couple that took social media by storm was one that people invented, and then eventually it happened. But like, you know what I mean? Anyways, sorry for the Nicolandria lashings. But anyways, moving on. So I didn't love that at the beginning because I was like, are we meant to be serious? And like Bachelor in Paradise always had like a goofy tone, but it still felt like, okay, anyways. But I will say, I do feel like it's gotten, like I really like the second and third episodes a lot. I'm really enjoying this season more than I like thought I would based off of the first. I think it's just, like it was a shock at first because it was so different formatted. It was formatted so differently that I was like, what show am I watching? But now it's kind of, gotten into a more of a routine. Things I really, really like. I really like, they just did a chemistry challenge. I think it was in the second episode. I think it was Monday's episode. I'm recording this Tuesday. They did like a chemistry challenge, but unlike other dating shows where it's just kind of like you kiss everybody blindfolded and then you rate the kisses or whatever, or like a lot of the times those like you kiss a bunch of people challenges or like you have to kiss everybody and then either rate the kisses or like try to guess who you know what I mean. We've all seen those kind of dates. This one I really liked because it was like you chose who you wanted to kiss. I liked that aspect because I do feel like sometimes on these dating shows, it's like, why are these two people kissing? There's nothing there. It's just like for shock value and for the challenge. And it's like, like I liked that because it did feel a little bit more like romance centered of like, who do you have a connection with? So this is an opportunity to like explore that connection more than a just like, let's make out with everybody kind of thing that I've really enjoyed. I was really happy when Jill came back because I love Jill. I'm a big fan of hers on social media. I loved her cat, Sauce. When her cat Sauce passed away, I cried. I can't think about it. I'm gonna cry. And she got a new cat. I'm very invested in Jill's cat. I love people who love cats. But she's really funny. And I've enjoyed her on seasons past. And she's been doing such a great job so far. Like, I've loved her. It doesn't seem like she has like a particularly strong connection with anybody, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I am glad at least that she's doing well. And especially like there was a whole thing with like Justin was interested in Lexi, but then Justin and Susie Evans were like friends and then they dated and then they broke up. And like Lexi was worried that he wasn't over Susie because they only broke up in February. So it was like all fresh, right? Then boom, Susie comes down to the island. They're not on an island. Not me making the same mistake somebody else did. Somebody else made that same exact mistake in an ITM on Tuesday's episode. So I'm sorry. I'm not trying to copy them. That was subconscious. But like Susie comes down into the resort and Lexi finally begins to trust Justin. And then Justin gives his rose to Susie at the rose ceremony. Susie says no. Justin leaves and he's like, I'm going to send myself home. And then Jesse's like, could we give this rose to somebody? And he says yes. And Jill gets his rose, even though he's gone, which I loved because I love Jill and I was glad to see her stick around. I really liked that detail. And she killed it in episode 3. So I was glad that she got that rose. I really was. Who do I like so far? Okay, the Lexi, Justin, Susie of it all. I was like not super invested in Justin and Lexi. So when that kind of crumbled, I was like, okay, that's whatever. Then there was a whole other situation where Jeremy was with Bailey, right? And then Susie came in and he went on the date with Susie. Jeremy did. Then he ended up giving his rose to Bailey. Susie went home. Andrew comes down. He has a date card. Andrew from Katie's season. He has a date card. He takes Bailey on the date. Jeremy is like, I want Susie back. We see him in an ITM call her. She's like, I'm about to board a plane. That was so unserious. Like, that was one of the weirdest things I've seen on Bachelor in Paradise in a while. Because I'll be honest, that wasn't giving like, man, I missed my opportunity with Susie. It was giving a now I'm not going to get a rose. Like, I want a rose. It wasn't giving like, I would have pursued things with Susie if I, like, it really felt like, well, now I'm not going to get a rose. Like, I'm not going to stick around. I want you to bring somebody in for me. I'm like, okay, that's a little bit unserious, Jeremy. Especially because he had just gone on a date. And when Bailey was like, I'm going to check with Jeremy, I thought he was going to be like, yeah, of course. But he was like, I just gave you the rose. And part of the reason I gave you the rose is because you said you weren't interested in anybody else. Why are you now going on a date with somebody else? Anyways, Bailey and Andrew's date went like well, but like that kind of fizzled out because she kind of realized she liked Jeremy more. So Jeremy and Bailey seemed to be going strong. And Andrew then went to Alex, it was between Alex and Bailey for the date, and he ended up going with Bailey, but then Alex and him now seem to be going strong, because Alex was pursuing Jonathan. She realized she just wanted to be friends, so she told him that. Lots of love triangles. Meanwhile, they bring in the golden contestants, and they've been a hoot. I really enjoyed them. I was like hesitant about it, but honestly, they've been like, it hasn't been like that dramatic or anything. And I do think that there'll be some fun moments where like hopefully they like give them advice, or like the group dynamics. Like I know in the previews we see some kind of party where they're all together and Kat gets upset because of something Sean said, who Sean came in this episode. And interestingly enough, he and Kat were like excited to see each other, and they were like, we're friends. I'm like, in the previews, he like says something that upsets her to the point where she's in tears. What's that about? So anyways, like I do think there'll be interesting dynamic moments. I'm not particularly invested in any of their relationships yet, but I do enjoy them. They did in the last episode, Tuesday's episode, a challenge that was like a promo for I Know You Did Last Summer, that movie, which I don't go to the movies, but honestly, if I did, I would consider going for that, just because I really love Jen Caden Robertson. Did she write it or did she just direct it? Let me double check. She directed Do Revenge, that movie on Netflix, but also the first time I ever heard of her was she was the creator of a show called Sweet Fishes, which is one of my favorite shows ever, but it was like, it only lasted one season. It was on MTV. It was like it was like a decade ago. I think it premiered in 2015, like the fall of 2015. So it's like an old show. But anyways, okay, she's the director. Okay, and she co-wrote the screenplay. But I didn't want to like, mislabel her, but I really like her. So if I was somebody who would watch movies, I would consider going to that. I also really love Jennifer Love Hewitt, as I have established many times on this podcast, and she is in this because it's like a not spin-off or reboot, but it's like famous horror franchise, and she comes back because it takes place in the town, and she's like prizing her character. But I love her, so if I watched movies, I would consider going to see that. So I liked the way they did it, because I feel like sometimes they have like ads on The Bachelor that feel like whatever. This I liked because it was like a secret can come back to haunt you, because the whole point of like the show is like they get threatening letters that are like, I know what you did last summer. They have some kind of secret that's like, Anyways, so I liked the way that this then happened, where they each, like everybody had to write a secret, and then the group had to vote on like which one is the most dramatic up until they got to one that was the most dramatic, which was Kathy's. And so then she got like a VIP suite, and she like brought some, I literally can't remember his name, sorry to that man, but like, I liked that format and that way to do an ad, if that makes sense. So I'm really enjoying Bachelor in Paradise so far. I think the only couple that is like solid right now is Spencer and what's her name? Oh my God, I'm so sorry to her. Let me Google them. I'm so sorry. Jess. Her name's Jess. No hate to Jess. They seem to be going strong. I will be honest, in the first episode, I was like, because she came down and the first thing she asked was like, who was the first one here? Which if you know anything about the Bachelor in Paradise, the first person, normally it's on the sand because they're at a beach, but the first person in the resort, that's like a big deal. It's like, the first person there, first sand, is an important person, normally like a really heavy hitter. So when Spencer was the first sand, I was like, okay, that's interesting. I don't really remember Spencer. But Jess came down and she was like, who was the first one here? And I was like, ooh, she's a gamer. She knows her stuff. She's trying to pair up with the most interesting guy. And so that's kind of what I thought it was at first. But honestly, they seem to be pretty solid and like good. And I am rooting for them. Like they seem cute. They seem compatible. They haven't really strayed. So I'm rooting for them. Kat and Dale, I really like together. I know Kat got a lot of hate when she was on whatever the last season she was on. She got a lot of hate. A lot of people hated her. I feel like I don't remember, so I'm sorry if I contributed to that, but I feel like I defended Kat. I feel like I defended Kat. Am I wrong? I don't know. I didn't hate Kat that much, honestly. Like, the birthday thing, relatable. I felt bad for Kat. Was she a little bit annoying? Maybe. But, like, I feel bad for the amount of hate she got. I always think the hate is completely unreasonable and disproportionate and everything. But anyways, I like Dale and Kat together. They seem to be a good match so far. In the previews, it seems like somebody else comes down that grabs Dale's attention. So will they last? Who knows? I think the main solid couple right now is Spencer and Jess, and I do wish them the best. I also really like Alex and Andrew, although they are a newer couple. And I want Jill to find somebody, but I don't know if there's anybody on the beach for her. They're not even at a beach. Whatever, in Paradise for her. I don't know. But I'm glad that she's back on my TV screen. Okay, so last but certainly not least, onto the main course, the reason we are gathered here today. My thoughts on Big Brother 27 so far. As I'm recording this, I'm recording this Tuesday night. Really, it's like early Wednesday morning. It's like 2 a.m. By the time this episode goes out, because I don't really think that I'll be able to finish editing it before. I mean, I'm going to try to finish editing it before Wednesday's episode. But honestly, I don't really know when this episode's going to go live. And I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on myself because it's not like a structured recap. It's just kind of like my initial thoughts. So I don't really know. But this episode may or may not go out before the veto results are live, like if you're not keeping up with feeds. So if you care about that, maybe skip a couple minutes. Or if you're watching this Wednesday and that's already like Wednesday night and that's already aired, then if you're listening to this anytime after the episode's live, then you already know the information. I mean, I'm not spoiling it because it's live. But anyways, so the first night, the 16 people move in. Again, I'm not doing a recap, and I'm also not going to go through everybody's intros because I don't really care enough to do that yet. I'll just kind of share. Anyways, I'm such a mess, so I'm not going through everybody's intros. Sorry about that. But anyways, basically, they move in. There's like a 2-part challenge. First, they have to find Julie because Julie gets taken hostage, and then they have to find the artifact. They're split into 2 groups. One group is looking for Julie, the other one's looking for the artifact. So they find the person to find Julie is Zach, and he gets $10,000. Also, Adrian was so close. He was so close. Like literally, Adrian was like trying to figure out the doors, and meanwhile, Zach just went to like the one door that Adrian hadn't got into yet, and be like, well, by process of elimination, I know it's not all these other doors because Adrian has done all these other doors, and they're not it. Zach got $10,000, and also we find out later that he can use that $10,000 to get himself off the block. So that's good for him. I think that's cooler than just $10,000. I think it's cool because it's like if you're ever in danger, you can use that. But also like if you're never in danger, you don't ever have to, like, you know what I mean? Which I think it's a cool mechanic. And then the person who found the artifact, which was Jimmy, he got to choose 4 people to compete in the HOH. Only 4 people competed, and he picked the four people. So he chose Adrian, Ashley, Vince, and then himself to compete for the head of household. And ultimately, Vince won the head of household. So that's where we left off. Oh, and then Rachel Riley was brought in as the 17th house guest. There was an accomplice in the house who like brought her in. And if the house the majority of the people in the house could figure out who the accomplice was and vote that person correctly, then that person was not going to be in this show. And that's where episode 1 ended. Then episode 2, they're trying to figure out who the accomplice is. They're pointing fingers at everybody. They are completely far off. Lauren, she's my number 1 so far. I love Lauren. I'm rooting for her the most. I liked her from the beginning because she's a super fan. She seems really sweet. Like, I had a good feeling about her. And then I also found out she's a Yellow Jacket stan. So now I'm rooting for her to win with everything in my being. And I desperately need her as a guest on my podcast post-season. Last season, I had my favorite player, which was Quinn. So I'm going to do it this season. And when I ask her if she's seen Yellow Jackets, she's going to say yes, which is amazing. Because I did ask Quinn if he had seen Yellow Jackets, and he said no. So anyways, representation does matter. And for me, that representation is Yellow Jackets watchers. So anyways, no hate to Quinn. Love him still. That's oomph. Anyways, where was I? Okay, Lauren, very intellectually. She's a genius. I love her. Imagine she has all of the worst Yellow Jackets takes ever. I don't care. Anyways, Lauren very astutely is like, I think it's probably a woman because Rachel's a woman and it would be an odd number, which is true. Like it's always like half and halves, like 8 women, 8 men, right? So that is really astute that like it wouldn't make sense if the accomplice was a man, because then if they were to vote out a man, then it would be 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, and that wouldn't make sense. so it has to be a woman, because if they get the accomplice, then it's like even. They didn't really listen to her. They ended up voting. Zay was a suspect. I don't remember who else, but like they voted wrong, I guess is the point. Amy was the accomplice, and I like Amy. I love the way that they did we got to see her doing everything she needed to do to fulfill her accomplice tasks. She and Rachel have an alliance, which I really like. Like they're like paired up together right now. Not really in a like duo kind of thing. I don't really know if there are any of those yet, but they have a good bond, and to the point where it kind of got, well, actually that's not really what got Amy in trouble, at least based on the edit. Okay, because on feeds, a lot of the discourse around getting Amy out is because she's a number for Rachel, but on the edited episode, Vince, the main reason he nominates Amy, because basically at the end of Sunday's episode, the nominees were Ashley, Amy, and Zay. So basically, the main thing in Sunday's episode was that Ashley took a 2-hour-long shower in Vince's room. And when Vince was trying to figure out people to name, a lot of people were like, Ashley's shower was super rude. So that was obviously a name that came up a lot. But then she kept trying to talk to him, and he thought that she was paranoid. So he nominated her. Oh, okay, sorry. And then Amy came up and was like, hey, the shower thing is really not a big deal. You should nominate her over this. And she got emotional. So basically, Vince's thought process was like, if I nominate Ashley, which is a name that a lot of people are throwing out there, so nobody's going to be mad at me about that, the only other person who would be mad at me seems to be Amy. So I'm going to nominate Amy too, because then there's no extra people mad at me. And then Zay, I think, he still had suspicion from being the accomplice because they voted somebody else. Somebody else got most of the votes. I don't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. But Zay was like the other person who got more numbers. So I think they voted Keanu as the accomplice, but then he wasn't. Maybe they didn't. I cannot remember. Okay, I think if I'm remembering correctly, and I will correct myself in my next episode if I'm not, they thought it was Riley, but majority voted Riley. Riley was not the accomplice, but then Zay had some suspicion on him. So that was why he was the third nominee, because AI Arena's back, although this season it's called The Blockbuster. And I don't know, I hope it doesn't last forever. I was not an AI Arena fan personally, so I don't know. But where was I? So that's who was nominated as of Sunday's episode. Ashley, because of the shower, but not because of the shower. Amy, because she was friends with Ashley. And then Zay, because he had suspicion, right? Okay, so since then, on feeds, this is a super condensed version. I will go through the sequence of events more clearly once somebody's been evicted and everything. I just kind of want to share stuff that's happened that's like why I feel a certain way about things and who I hope goes home, etc. So Ashley won the veto. Slay, queen. So happy for you. The shower thing was stupid. Like, I don't know. It did make me be like, if I had been on this season, I would win. Because I'm too depressed to take a shower. Especially a shower that long. Like, that's so much effort. You know what? Like, I'm too self-conscious and, like, anxious to, like, have taken a 2-hour shower in somebody else's room. Especially when, like, maybe if it was towards the end and I was really close to the person, maybe I wouldn't be as self-conscious. But, like, if it was, like, the first night or the first just week in the house and I'm still getting to know people, like, I would not feel comfortable, especially because there's so many people in the house. There's like limited showers. I'm sure I'm not the only person who wants to take a shower in the HOH shower. The HOH probably wants to take it, you know what I mean? So I would be really like, but I also just don't think that is like a big enough deal to evict somebody. But I also understand how early on there's no like alliances or like this person targeted me, so it's just kind of vibes, right? They also have to nominate more people, so anyways, which I always hated that. Like, that's the thing that really gets me about AI Arena is like by the end of the week you may have had to nominate 4 people, especially towards the end of the end of the season. Right now it's like, okay, Vince has had to nominate 4 people because Ashley took the veto, like got the veto and took herself off the block. They had to nominate a 4th person. 4 people out of 17, not that crazy. I mean, his options were limited because the have-nots were safe from elimination because Rachel was a have-not and then the 3 other people were also safe. So his options were limited. But, like, my point is that 4 people out of, like, the whole cast in the first couple weeks isn't that crazy. Like, there's still enough people that you can be aligned with. Towards the end, it's like, you literally have to nominate like almost every eligible person. There's like maybe 2 people you don't nominate if you're the HOH. Like that's crazy to me, and that's why I don't like AI Arena. It also kind of kills a backdoor plan. I love a classic backdoor. You can't really do that because then the person you're backdooring still has an opportunity to save themselves, which is the whole reason you backdoor them, because they don't have the opportunity to save themselves. And especially if it goes up until jury, I hope it goes up until only jury, because then there'll be at least some time for somebody. Like I don't know. I don't like it. We'll see what it is. Anyways, so Ashley went off the block, and now Kelly's on the block, and it's Kelly, Amy, and Zay. I want Zay to go home. It does not seem like that's going to be the case, but I don't know. Anything could happen. I really don't know. Kelly, interestingly, we missed this on feeds, but like she told Vince before nominations, so it was before feeds went live. She was like, nominate me. And he was like considering that because obviously that's like one less person who's mad at you for like putting them on the block. But because of the whole Ashley and Amy thing, he was like, I'm going to put them up on the block together and then Zay. So Kelly was not on the block, but then Kelly got put on the block because Ashley won the veto. The person I least want to go home is Amy because I like her the most of the 3, and also she's aligned with people I'm more interested in. Kelly, I don't know who she's aligned with, but nobody that I'm that interested. Like, I don't really like Kelly. I have to be honest. I have nothing against her personally. I do not know her, but the way I don't enjoy watching her on feeds. Her gameplay isn't super. Like, I'm not vibing with Kelly right now, so I'd be happy if Kelly went home. Zay I really hate. He's who I want gone the most because I hate him. And I really try not to hate people. And not that I hate him like on a personal level where I will like, it will hold a lot of space in my brain. Not at all, because I don't like to hold space for hatred because it upsets me. That made no sense. But like, I don't hate him like actively, like I'm gonna be like, whatever. Because I don't do that. I don't find it to be healthy. Like I don't find it to be healthy to like hate watch or like, but I really don't like Zay because one, I think he's stupid in terms of the game of Big Brother. I don't know his intelligence level, but like he doesn't know anything. He said he asked ChatGPT how to play Big Brother. I hate those kind of players. Like, I'm sorry, if you're a recruit, watch some fucking seasons. Watch a few Peridium videos, okay? He has so many things, how all these people won Big Brother. Watch a few and then figure out what of those people's winning styles or their path, their journey to victory, like what you think is most possible for you, and then do that. Like, for example, I've seen a few seasons of The Circle. I'm not like a super fan by any means. I like the Circle, but it's not like, but if I were to be on The Circle, I would watch every season. I would like take notes and I would like learn the strategies. I would watch YouTube videos about people breaking down the strategy. I would do some kind of research. Okay, research that isn't chat fucking GPT. So that already pissed me the fuck off. 2, he has frosted tips. No, I'm kidding. But Kelly did say that in the DR as a reason that she didn't trust him, which cracked me up. But I don't like him. But the main reason I do not like him, horrible player, super annoying to watch. He also said the R slur, and I really don't fucking play about that because it's 2025 and there's just like genuinely no reason you need to be saying that word in this day and age. It's like idiotic to me. Why are you saying that word? Why are you saying that word? I don't like it. Not only did he say it, he was like, shoot, that's one of the ones I've been trying not to say. So it's like something that's frequent in his vocabulary that he knows he shouldn't be saying. So he had to learn to not say it before going on the show. He said it and he was like, shoot, I've been trying not to say that because I know I'm not supposed to say that on TV. Fuck him. Fuck his stupid frosted tips, and I hope he goes home as soon as possible. I want him out of that house. I'm so angry. Every time I see him, it pisses me off. His diary room sessions also really piss me off. I don't like him. I really don't like him. I don't wish him any ill will. I just hope he leaves the Big Brother house as soon as fucking possible. But when he's on the outside, I hope he does fine. And I hope he apologizes and learns, but like, will he? Probably not. I don't know. Like, anybody who says something bad and is like, shoot, that's something that I've been trying not to say in that context is really upsetting to me because it's like, okay, so you say that frequently enough that you had that in your brain that you shouldn't be saying that. But then, like, I find that so annoying. I feel like if there is something that I know, and like I'm not perfect, but I feel like if there was something that somebody told me, I can't think of anything, but like if somebody told me, hey, that word is kind of offensive, let alone if somebody said, hey, that's actually a slur. If somebody said it to me, I'd be like, oh my God, that word never existed in my brain. I'm never saying that again. I'm so sorry. That's never happened to me. God bless. but like if somebody even said, hey, that's kind of offensive and that, whatever. There's some word I didn't realize had some deeper meaning or history. And if somebody was like, hey, that's offensive, I would genuinely never say it again. I don't understand the knowing that something is offensive to people and then telling yourself you need to unlearn it, but like not being, like that's so weird to me. It's like you don't care enough not to say it. Anyways, I really don't like him, so I want him gone, but I feel like he's not going to go. I don't know. It's the one thing I will say that I really love about Feeds so far, and not just Feeds, but like the cast, is that so far it does not seem like there's a unanimous vote at all. It's very split. So I don't know if something huge will change by the end of Wednesday, that like Thursday will come in and it'll be like a house vote, but it seems like it's going to be pretty split, and that's exciting. So I don't really know, because basically right now as it stands, if it's Kelly and Zay, I feel like they send Kelly home. I don't know. If Amy's on the block, it seems like there's a wide group of people that want to send Amy home. At least those are the conversations I'm gathering on Feed, unless people are only telling. Like, it's hard to know, because I'm like, are they only telling Vince and I don't know how many people actually want to keep Amy and are just saying like, no, yeah, I'm down to vote Amy out because of the company they're around. Like, I don't genuinely know yet where people stand, but it seems like Amy is the person people want gone the most because of her proximity to Rachel, which is unfortunate because she's the person of the three who I would want to stay the most. My ideal situation is that Amy wins AI Arena and it's between Kelly and Zay, because I'd be fine with either of those people going. I'd prefer Zay, but I'd be fine if Kelly went. So that's my ideal scenario. Emmy Cardinale, the Emmy Awards as of Tuesday. Well, it's Wednesday at like 2:30 a.m. That's my ideal situation. I would want Kelly and Zay to be the final two people, and then either of them goes, I'm fine with. I would prefer Zay because he's an ableist, and I don't fuck with ableism. So, like, I honestly, I think for me personally, and ableism is one that like really impacts me deeply because of like ableism I experienced in college and stuff, that I just like, it really angers me that word has had, and I don't even have like a disability that necessarily like applies to. Like I understand that that's specifically for like people with developmental disabilities. I don't have that. I have like, other disabilities. But anyways, regardless of whether that word impacts me or not, it just like genuinely angers me the way that ableism is so, and like just the way that word has had a resurgence, and the way people just like, it really angers me. It really angers me because it's like, it's not just about the word, it's about the widespread attitudes of like disregard for like the disabled community, not just with like that word having a resurgence, but like with people not caring about COVID anymore, even though that's ongoing and mass disabling people. And like, if you're wondering if you're getting like a cold in the summer and you're like, why am I cold in July? Or not cold like physically, but like, why am I sick in July? I never used to get sick in the summer. It's like probably repeat COVID infections, which has like corroded your immune system, because 1 in 10 infections can lead to long COVID. And that's not like 1 in 10 people, that's like 1 in 10 infections. So if you've been infected twice or 3 times, then each time you are more likely to have some kind of effect. So it's just like, anyways, there are a lot more people now who are disabled, and people who were disabled who are now, it just, the whole disregard for like disabled people and the disabled community really angers me. And it bothers me that people just say words like that and they're like, oh, I shouldn't say that. It's like such an easy word not to say, and such a great impact that has on people who hear that, who are being marginalized and disregarded and killed and like literally whatever. Not whatever, but like it really pisses me off. So I want him gone, but I feel like, I don't know. As long as it's not Amy, I'm going to be happy with the outcome. If it is Amy, I will let live. The person I'm rooting for the most right now is Lauren. Maybe this isn't obvious, I really like Rachel Riley, and I'm really, I did not watch Big Brother 12 or 13 live. I've now seen them years later, but like I didn't watch that season, either of those seasons live. So I did not get to experience Rachel Riley on live feeds. And that's been like so fun that I like do not want her to go home anytime soon because I'm loving watching her on live feeds. And I also think, and maybe like now I wish that I had the experience of watching her on live feeds a couple of years ago, because she feels and seems to be so much calmer. And I do think that even there was a huge difference between seasons 12 and 13, like the way she played. She obviously got better in 13. But so far, she's like doing such a great job with socially. I'm excited to see her compete. We haven't seen her play in anything because, well, she played in a veto, but as of when I'm recording this, that veto competition hasn't happened. So I don't know how she performed in that veto comp yet. Or maybe she didn't actually, now that I think about it, because it's early on enough that she could have not been picked. So she might not even competed in the veto. But like she hasn't competed in anything, so we haven't seen how she's doing in terms of that, which was always like a big part of her game when she was good at the competition. So I'm excited to see her in that regard, but it's been really a joy to watch her social game on feeds. Obviously rooting for her, and I will say, Big Brother 19 was one of the first seasons I watched, and while I was not watching feeds, as in like I wasn't watching them because I didn't want to have to ask my parents to pay for something. I was a teenager. I was like, now I have my own money, I can pay for Paramount Plus. So, but I did keep up with like all of the feed updates on Twitter to the best of my ability, and that's the only experience I have with a like single returnee season. I don't know if there's ever been another season where there's only like one returnee. Was Big Brother 19 the only time they've done that? Because they've had like when they bring people back, but like have they ever done where they only bring one person back, or was Paul the only person they did that with? But like Paul had like a cult. Like the way people were like drawn to Paul and like that was crazy. It doesn't feel like that with Rachel in a way that I do really appreciate, because even with like Suri, who she wasn't a returnee, but like people knew her, did feel like there was a bit of a like, this is Suri Field, she's like famous, where Rachel, there are people excited to be with her, but it seems like most of them are like, okay, like Rachel just seems like another person in the mix. She doesn't seem like she's particularly dominating yet. Like it doesn't seem like she's like a cult around her. It seems like there's a decent amount of people who are like, because even Big Brother 19, it's like there were people going against Paul, but they were like very outwardly going against Paul and being like, I don't like you. Whereas with Rachel, it seems like there are people who are like, obviously not to her face, like, I'm coming for you, I don't like you. But they're very much like, I'm wary of Rachel. Maybe Rachel's not my target right away, but they don't have like a blinder on of like she's untouchable in the way that I feel like Paul had. Again, from my recollection, but like, you know what I mean? In a way that I really like. I really enjoy her. She's really funny. It's truly such a joy and such a pleasure to watch her on live feed. So I'm obviously rooting for her. I also really like Morgan. Really like most of the women and not many of the men. Adrian is one of the guys I really like. I really like Adrian. Wall Comp Wednesday got me. Like I'm rooting for Adrian, and him and Lauren seem to like have both. They've talked and they seem like they want to work with each other. How genuine that is, I don't know yet, but like I do like them individually and I would like to see them working together. Ashley, I like. Amy, I like. Ava, so fun. I don't know. For me, it's hard because it's like there are people that I enjoy watching on TV and I like them. I enjoy them. Like I have good vibes, but I don't know how much. It's hard yet because I don't feel like I understand people's strategies and like if I vibe with them as a player yet. I feel like I'll know in a couple more weeks of like how they react to like votes flipping and stuff like that. Like right now I like Lauren's gameplay, but like maybe she'll really bother me as a gamer. So I don't know. But I really like Ava like as a TV personality. I don't know if I understand her game yet. Jimmy, I don't really know how I feel. I don't hate him. Like I would like to be clear, I don't hate any of these people because I don't know any of these people, and I don't believe in like hating people and like sending people negativity. Like whatever I say on this podcast about like if I like them or whatever, it's not me talking about them as a human being because I don't know these people. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm just talking about whether I've enjoyed them on my TV or not so far. Jimmy is like a mixed bag. Like I do find him funny on the edited show, but there are moments on feeds that I just like, I don't like him. Jimmy is not somebody I'm particularly rooting for, but also not somebody I'm particularly rooting against. That's where I stand with Jimmy. Catherine I like so far, but I don't know her very well, to be honest. Like, I like what she sees. She's another one who I'm like, I like you so far. Keanu, I'm not really enjoying. I'm ready for him to leave whenever he's ready. Kelly, I feel the same way. I really want her to, like, I want them, I don't care. Lauren, love. She's probably my number one, besides Rachel Riley, but that... Mickey, I like so far, but she's a question mark for me. I don't know how I feel about Mickey yet, to be honest. Morgan, I love. I think Lauren, Morgan, and Adrian are my 3 faves right now. I also really like Will. He's like, I feel like could be like a good wild card. Like right now, he seems to be like well liked people, but he's not like too active. I don't know. I like Will. I'm keeping my eye out on Will. Vince I'm like torn on because I enjoy him sometimes and he's aligned with people that I like, but I also just like, I don't know if I don't know. Vince is still a question mark for me. Zach, I don't really care for, but he's aligned with people that I'm rooting for, so I don't know. I also have to say that I've been trying to watch as much feeds as possible, but with the lack of like flashback and stuff, it's been kind of hard, and also my Wi-Fi has been really shitty. So it's been like, I feel like I'm not as tapped into the feeds in terms of like people's personality yet. Like I'm keeping up with like the strategizing and the gameplay and who's aligned with who, and who they're thinking of voting. Like I'm keeping up with that, but I don't feel like I've like watched enough of them to know if I like am ached out by them. Zay, I really don't like. Riley, I also don't really like. Again, I do not hate these people because I don't know them personally, but I'm just not vibing with them. Riley is like the archetype he falls into. I don't enjoy that kind of archetype. I really don't. And he's not compelling to me one way or the other. He also, like, the thing is, and like, could this be a lie? Maybe, but like, I hate this kind of attitude towards Big Brother. I hate people who are like, he was like, I don't care about the money. This is like a platform. I hate people who have that attitude. I'm sorry. And like, the thing is, 9 times out of 10 on reality TV, I'm actually somebody who's like very understanding to that attitude. Like people who are like, oh, you're here for the wrong reasons on like The Bachelor or whatever. Or even like, I don't know, if people on Love Island were like at the end of Love Island, you could either split the money, and then when they chose to keep the money, Ariana Maddox, the host, was like, You are here for love. It's like, I don't buy into that. I here for the wrong reasons. It's a TV show. I think it's fine to understand it's a TV show. I think for me it's annoying because it's like Big Brother is also like a really fascinating game. I don't like people who go on Big Brother because they want TV exposure. Like, first of all, Big Brother it has a niche following. Unless you really pop off, you are not going to become like a famous influencer and like or maybe an influencer, you can make like a decent living, but like you're not going to become like famous because you were on Big Brother. Like that, it's annoying to me. Like, please go on a different show, go on Love Island. I don't like Riley. I don't like him so far. But the people that I really want gone are Zay. Keanu I'm not really vibing with, but interestingly enough, he was somebody who they were talking about like nominating, because there was a whole conversation that Rachel had with him that I watched on feeds where she was like, he was about to put you up, and I said, do not put Keanu up. And that's true, she did say that, but from what I'm seeing, it wasn't I want to work with Keanu. It was like a lot of people want to target him. I haven't heard Ashley's name come up since. Like, the shower thing seems to be an isolated incident, but I don't know. Lauren, I really like. Catherine, I'm keeping an eye on. Lauren, Morgan, Adrian, those are the 3 people I'm really, really rooting for. I really like a lot of the people. I'm indifferent towards most of them right now because I don't feel like I have enough data to form a proper opinion. But people I really do not vibe with, Zay, Keanu I don't particularly care for, Zach I don't particularly care for, but I also don't hate Zach yet. Maybe he'll do something. I mean, again, not that I hate any of these people like personally. And please, if you just like somebody from reality TV, do not send them hate. That's so counterproductive, okay? Complain to your friends about how they're annoying. There's no need to I'm fundamentally against that, okay? If you are ever in somebody's DMs drafting up a mean, exit that and write it in your notes app. I DM people from reality TV nice things, especially when they're getting a lot of hate. I'm like, I'm sorry that you're probably getting a lot of hate. And will they ever see that message? Probably not, but it's probably nice if they open it, their message requests, it's to see one in a sea of a bunch of people sending them hate. And when I do dislike somebody, or I do find somebody's behavior abhorrent, and I don't support them, and I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, don't let the haters get you down in those moments when I feel like criticism is valid, I will just not engage with those people. Like, there are still people on, like, Sierra's TikToks, Sierra from Love Island, like, on her TikToks, like, commenting, this is cringy, or photos of Nicolandria, and it's like, just disengage. You realize the more comments she gets on her TikTok, the more the algorithm pushes it out, and the more it's on people's For You pages, the more chances she'll make money from it, because that's how people get money on TikTok, is from For You pages, from like the For You page. So like, maybe block her and disengage from her if you don't want her to have a platform. Instead of commenting on her TikTok, why are you posting on TikTok? Why are you commenting on her TikTok? That's stupid. That is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how social media works. Do not comment on people's social media who you do not like, okay? Don't do that. And I'm not saying if you like somebody and you follow somebody and they do something wrong, be like, hey, that's not okay, like constructively. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you just dislike somebody, do not engage with their content, okay? I block a lot of people on TikTok, and not even like people in my comments, because I don't post enough to very often get hate comments. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, if I get a really nasty comment, TikTok filters it. So I very rarely get on my TikToks. Most of the time it's like review filtered comments, and then I just delete them because I'm like, so I very rarely get like really mean comments. So that's not what I mean by blocking people. I block a lot of people just if they show up on my For You page and they bother me, because I'm like, I don't want to give them views. I don't want to, I get really annoyed, and I know my brain, and I'm like, I don't need to obsess over people. That, like, I don't need to hate watch, okay? I used to, like, when I was younger, to torture myself or to rile myself up, I would, like, watch things that upset me, and I just don't do that anymore, because I'm like, there are plenty of things that can upset me. I don't need to feed into that anger, or that, like, you know, whatever that negative feeling is, despair, I don't need to feed into that, okay? Anyways, sorry to go on that unnecessary tangent, but just like when I say I dislike somebody, I'm not condemning them as a person. So anyways, those are my initial thoughts on Big Brother so far. I will have a more comprehensive recap once week 1 is over, kind of tracking the trajectory of the alliances and what happened day by day and stuff like that. So that will be out sometime over the weekend. My goal is to record Thursday nights, maybe Fridays, to get the episode out before the new Big Brother week starts with Sunday's episode. Obviously, if you keep up with feeds like that, the week starts as soon as feeds come on after the live eviction. But I'm just saying, like, for my own, because there are live feeds, but I'm like, there are 3 episodes a week, and the last episode is Thursday, so I want to, anyways. So I will be recording an episode Thursday after the live eviction, kind of more comprehensively going through the week. So sorry if this wasn't super organized. I just kind of wanted to share my initial thoughts on the people so far. If you have any opinions, please let me know in the comments down below. It means a lot if you tune in. Love having this podcast. So excited that Big Brother is back. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. Share with a friend who's also watching Big Brother. And I hope you have a great week. Not even week, because you'll hear from me again within the week. But like, anyways, hope you have a great few days before you hear from me again. Bye.